putting my hands on a colored man. I don't care if he's sick or not.
The idea of Nothing But Mercy, A Private Room Please, as the title of the play, has to deal with, first of all, doing quite a bit of initial research in looking at exactly what mercy is and what grace is, actually, and coming to the conclusion that because of the behavior of many people back in 1947 in regards to race relations, that in order for us to be fair to the bad character, which is probably the nurse at the hospital, why was she allowed to have a final 2 weeks of work before leaving her job, considering that she had refused services to the retired school teacher simply because he was African American? Then I realized that the only thing that would probably allow us to be fair to her would be mercy. So it had to be mercy that allowed us to not just kick her out as soon as she refused services. I would have thought, for myself, I would have said, well, you're out of here and you're out of here right now. You're done because you need to be able to serve everybody. But it was that whole idea of mercy that allowed them to have her work for 2 more weeks before leaving the job. And then that ties in with the progression of the name of Mercy Hospital, because it has evolved from being several other names to now they simply go by Mercy because that's what they do.
They said there were no private rooms for coloreds.
That was the policy in the past, but the Sisters of Mercy believe that all patients should be treated equally.
Well, the play is really about the tenacity of women, being that nuns are women, and the character in the show is a female who is willing to make a request for a private room for her husband. And it was the nuns who had the tenacity to speak up and agree that even though in 1947 Jim Crow laws were alive and well and Jim Crow etiquette, that both of them were able to step beyond those limits and to simply do what was right. And so it shows us just how strong women are, in that context. Actually, the character that the show is centered around is never even seen. He's talked about, but he's never even seen. And unfortunately, we don't even know his name, and neither do we know his wife's name. But what he stood for, was far more than a singular name, though we hope that at some point we'll find out exactly who that retired African-American school teacher was who received that first private room at Mercy Hospital. It was a big deal that this African-American woman was able to step forward and ask for a private room for her husband. In 1947, in Oklahoma City, it's my understanding that there were approximately 86 beds available for African Americans in this city. And all of those beds were in the basement of existing hospitals here in the city. So before the events of 1947, when the Sisters of Mercy purchased the hospital, no African American had ever had a private room at Mercy Hospital until the nuns took over.
Buses, water fountains, schools, churches, cemeteries are all separate. Then what makes you think I should serve a colored man on the same floor as a white patient?
I would want people to come away with the feeling that everybody is capable of change. And even with the characters in the show that we love to hate, the nurse on the second floor in particular, in the final moments of the show, even she is the recipient of an aha, where she comes to a realization that there are so many things about human beings that are universal. And we looked for those universals to bring us all to an understanding of what was happening back then. And a universal is something that all human beings have in common regardless of race. And it's things like what it means to feel loss. It might be that for you, loss is about losing a pet, or it could be that you lost a favorite item, or it could be that you lost somebody. We all experience loss. We all experience love. We all experience that need to be taken care of. And so if you can bring people to a universal, then you bring them to a common understanding of human conditions. So we call it Nothing But Mercy, a private room, please. And then kind of a subtext is it's a love story, because they come to that understanding that we all love, want to be loved, and that if we really love somebody, we'll step outside of our comfort zone.